Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about this well, I don't think it's a concept, it's a fact that the low paid, the least paid, lowest paid jobs are now heavily overrepresented in areas such as customers. I mean, you get retail, but customer service, the online service agent type thing. Or the telephone service agent, and also in nursing, the lowest entry level of sort of medical care, and also in aged care. Now, I've had an overdose the last sort of several weeks to do with relatives and friends and so on, where I've been interacting with them at the wider medical establishment on a almost seems like a fucking daily basis, but and so it's given me sort of, I guess, 12 months worth of exposure here, and particularly in aged care, which I didn't have a whole lot to do with, and to see it up close in the sort of personal level of service that old people are getting, or senior citizens in aged care. Nor is this the entry level cheapest aged care. If you go to the absolute bargain basement level of aged care, which I wouldn't want to inflict on anybody, you're lucky to find any aged care operative that speaks English. So it's that bad, and you're lucky to find anybody who gives a shit. At least they've got sort of monitored, policed checklists in the more expensive places, but it does mean they have people that speak English as a first language, or more of them anyway. But it doesn't mean that they give a shit. And I think we need to look at the wider architecture of society here. Now, I remember some people I knew, many years ago, where she was a nurse and he worked as a storeman packer in like a warehouse. He just loaded stuff onto pallets and that sort of thing. There's also another one where, again, she's a nurse and he was, I think, a fireman or something like that. And another one where a nurse and a policeman. Now, when I was sort of young, like in my 20s, people who worked in those occupations could afford to buy a house. Both of them needed to work, so they weren't the single income type household, but they could afford a house to buy a modest house, modest car, and they could afford to have children, and two or three children, something like that, and they could get by. They didn't live a life of luxury. The kids were wearing hand-me-downs, and everything they bought was used, and if there was an unusual expense needed, they had to kind of save up for a while to do it. So if the kids were having an excursion, sometimes that they couldn't afford to send the kids on the excursion, so they lived that. So it was well, not poor, but it was tight in some ways. But they could always put food on the table, and they would have you over, and they would share their food with you, and things like that. So they had a future, and they could look into the future with possibilities, helping the kids grow up. And it was very much a view then that your life as an adult was almost an act of intergenerational sacrifice. You're sacrificing your life so your kids have a better life, something that you rarely, if at all, see these days. But it was very much an attitude then, and an investment in the future, not just in your house, but particularly in children. Now that's changed, but also the purchasing power of those sort of jobs have changed, so that the purchasing power of an entry level sort of warehouse worker, come entry level medical worker, nurse's assistant or aged care worker, this sort of thing, they have so little money that they're what was referred to as the working poor. That is, they work a full-time job, often shift work, but they can barely afford to rent a room in a house and live communally, maybe with people they don't like or don't get on with. So they've got a miserable, if not wretched, existence, I would suggest. And and they've got no chance of breaking out of that. Now, just a conversation I overheard a while ago with I think it was an aged care worker, talking about that they wanted to go to sleep and sleep for a long time, because it's only when they're asleep that they didn't have to think about their problems and the misery and wretchedness of their life. I mean, that's a pretty bad place to be in, and yet here's someone having to give caring to others. Now, part of giving caring is that I mean, some people are predisposed to that, I guess, but part of giving caring is that your own life isn't in such a wretched state, and you're not so angry and bitter. And I'll come back to the anger and bitter in a minute, how people are encouraged to think it's all straight white male Nazis that are causing it. Otherwise, you'd be rich and famous and live in a palace and that sort of stuff. So these entire industries are populated with people who have no future and a wretched day-to-day existence. So what have I seen in this? Wasn't so much aged care. It's more a rehab hospital where, yes, senior citizens, all of them, I would think, or maybe a couple of exceptions. No one under the age of 50, I saw, but they've had they've had a really bad stroke, or bad heart attack, or they're quadriplegics or something, and they're going through some sort of a rehab process, and so it's a kind of aged care rehab combo type hospital. Now, what have I seen there? And given I've been interacting with somebody in there over a few weeks, and I'm not sure I go as far as I'm horrified by what I've seen, but it's certainly given me cause to look at it with a different set of eyes. Now, here's one case. Now, here's a guy who's had, I think he's had a stroke, and quite a bad one, looks, but he's pretty much paralyzed. He can barely talk, and his thought processes are all over the shop. He can't compute even the simplest things. He's very feeble, and he just about walk, but only just. And he's got to take some small steps that it takes me a million years just to get from, walk down the hallway. So now he's got this particular hospital, they've got sort of someone that coordinates the events and makes sure that, or supposed to make sure, I'm not sure they do it very well, that these people can go out on the special coach or bus comes along to take them out to somewhere, or they organise some sort of activities in the hospital, and there's quite a nice little flower garden just nearby, and they can do a loop walk around that. So that there's various activities and events to be coordinated, and this very angry, seemingly bitter, impatient, irritable person is in charge of this. Now, why you would have somebody like that who clearly wants to be anywhere but doing this job, I assume they've got to have some sort of a diploma in something to be doing it. But now they come into the room next to where I am, and one of the nurses coming to do something to the guy I'm seeing. So I sort of go out in the hallway just so I don't get in the way and don't trespass on any confidentiality or something. So I'm out there. So I'm listening to this coordinator talking to this guy. And I've seen this guy around because I've been in and out quite often. I've seen this guy around. You can't ask him, how you going, Billy Bob? How you doing, Billy Bob? And that would be a struggle for him to compute that. He can't compute anything. You have to talk very slowly and very deliberately, and you have to wait for quite a while before you can check if he's computed. But here's and I've seen her do this to others, so she's not especially singling him out, but she knows he can't follow it. So, so what do you want to do, Billy Bob? Do you want to go tomorrow, or do you want to go today? I can't fit you in on the day after. You can go after day after that. Now there's a morning after. Do you want to go the morning after? What do you want to do? Come, Billy Bob. Tell me, what do you want to do? Is it Monday? Is it Monday you want to do? Now the guy is almost, he's trying to talk and nothing's coming out, and And so and it's come on, I haven't got all day attitude. She's really pestering, really berating him almost for he's got to make these decisions, and she's rapid fire questions at him. So do you want to go for a walk later, or do you want to what about the do you want to do the do you want to play the games in the games room, or do you want to watch TV? What do you want to do, TV or the games? Which is it? Which one? And I thought spoken with harshness that was quite unnecessary. If I'd been in charge of the hospital watching someone do that, they'd have been cancelled once and then fired. Wouldn't patients being treated like that? You got to be kidding. Now maybe I'm too much of a softie and I don't like that, but I'm not even in the caring business, nor would I want to be, nor do I think I'm good enough to do it, because I don't think I'm patient enough to deal with people who are in that. But this woman, I mean, holy fuck. I didn't say anything, and it wasn't my business. And I'm sure if I had said something, they'd have accused me of being Hitler or whatever. So there's almost no point. But maybe I should have recorded it or filmed it or something like that. Put it on YouTube. Say, hey, this is how your elderly relatives are being treated. And again, this isn't a cheap place. These people are hitting you up for some decent fees. So, but why the guy was being, why would you want to treat somebody that way? Why would you want to talk to somebody like that, be it a patient or anyone else, and not even waiting for the reply? Or is that a nod? You're saying yes, and just to get the woman out of his face, he nodded yes, or I don't know, seemed to be a nod. Maybe it wasn't. And there was, okay, so we'll do this, and then so she wanted to, she's got to tick the form saying that, did you talk to this guy? Yes. And did he tell you what he wanted? Yes. Tick the box, and he's going to do such and such activity. Now it's her job. She's got to check every day, or maybe more than once a day, with activities, but from people who can follow what's going on. And I don't think she's doing that. She's doing it in sort of in name only rather than in practice. And now, again, let's put some perspective on this. This is probably one of the lowest paid jobs, in the country. Like part-time floor sweeper may get paid less, and she's got to make sure every box is ticked on the form. She probably gets endless crap if it isn't. So she's there just to go through the process, just to deliver a process, not to deliver care. Yet her job is to care. And here's someone who can't talk, can't respond, that she's badgering and berating and browbeating, in my opinion, in a very callous manner. I wouldn't dream of talking to somebody like that. Now, I've interacted, the guy I'm interacting with in this fucking hospice, my patients gets tested because it takes a while for him to respond to things that are said, and so I've taken to reading to him and going very slowly until I can sense that he is following what's going on. Now that can take quite a while to get him sort of moving and tuned into what's happening around him. He seems to be off in the ether half the time. But if I was impatient and irritable with him, and it just wouldn't work. So I have to be patient in order for him to get the benefit of the interaction. And once he gets going, he's fine, and he seems to enjoy it, and gives feedback and so on. But I wouldn't dream of treating him that way. It wouldn't even cross my mind to do that. Now, again, coming back to this woman, she's got, I don't know how many, 100, a million, or how many patients per day she's got to get through. So she's got to get on with it. Maybe she's fallen behind, but she seems to have plenty of time to stop and gossip and bitch about things to other staff members and so on. Seems to have plenty of time for that. But you can see the haircut and the very the cheap Walmart perfume, and you look at the shoe. She gets a uniform issued, but you look at the shoes, and they're the cheapest Walmart shoes, and they're falling apart. she's got, I don't know, I don't think she's a lesbian, but I can't imagine she could keep a man, either get a man or keep him. She's lost that, where a woman doesn't even try to be attractive anymore, or even considers it possible she's going to get a man, or that sort of thing. She's got that look about her, and so we're talking bitter and angry, and she's being plied with, we're surrounded by a Nazi patriarchy all day. There's Hitler is everywhere. She's plied with that. So there's that. Well, why am I letting all these Hitlers hold me back? It's their fault. They did it. She's not bright enough. She's not a high IQ person at all. And that I don't know if she could do any better than she's doing. But she's got these are the sort of people that are in these jobs. Now, I can't see any of them that actually want to give care, that I've observed, that want to give care, and who very quickly become impatient and irritated and annoyed and so on. But in some ways, you can't blame them. Their lives are just one day of misery to another, and here they are having to give care and gentle care, hopefully. Not loving care, because you give that to relatives or people I guess, but just that gentle hand that you give to people that need that. In this case, people in care, people that are paying for that fucking care as well. And I don't know why they don't give it. No, I do know. I do understand the misery of their lives and their bitterness, their angriest, but why has it come to that? These jobs that they're in used to pay enough that they could live that sort of life. So the position I'm coming at here in this essay is to say so many jobs are now falling into the subsistence level, and the amount of bitter and angry, wretched people is increasing, and these people are heavily overrepresented in what once were the customer service, and the caring professions. So I think we've got a problem that's society-wide. It's not just an issue with this hospital or that worker or another worker. I don't think, I think it's going to get worse. I don't think we're any closer to solving it. And the only release valve I can see is what could be mass euthanasia. And that's a very, very scary thought. Do we want that to happen? So there needs to be a rethink, a very substantial rethink, I believe, to caring, but not, and also in the idea of customer service. I can find, even going into a takeout food store where it's on their website what the promotion is, the manager of the store will want to actually stand and argue with you about what's on the website. And if you can get them finally to look at the website, there's no apology and I was wrong, or I shouldn't have stood there arguing with you. I should have just given you I should have looked at the website straight away. We should have known. I haven't been reading my memos coming from head office, that sort of thing. But instead of that, they want to fight, and they really want to fight you. Don't you dare put me down. I'm fighting back, because their lives are so wretched and miserable that that's their, that's how they want to respond. They want to lash out at everything that holds them accountable for anything at all. We really need to look at this, because it's going to get nasty and ugly, I think, if it isn't already there now. You've been with Tacitus today in your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.